Hi, hello, and welcome to LX2 Codependency Coaching Podcast. I am Stella. We are recording live. I am live right now, but I am in fact recording because there is no live placement. It is Thursday. I'm in Denver, currently recording in the office/nursery. And yeah, it's been an interesting week in all good ways. I do love travel, obviously. And I do love adjusting myself, like challenging me to adjust and figure out how to still do the things, accommodate, if you will, do the things I need to and want to do while also, you know, living in a different environment and finding new routines and all the stuff. I just finished making a really good lunch, and it's nice because my daughter and son-in-law are in a really good place to be able to have lots of different options for lunch. I made some food and that was nice. I did want to share that my Yerno, my son-in-law, said hello to all my listeners and viewers, and he asked that you like and subscribe. So if you want to go to my YouTube and or Instagram or TikTok, it's LX2 Codependency Coaching Podcast, or LX2 Codependency Coaching, wherever you get that. I was thinking about this idea, and I was listening to the Trevor Noah What Now podcast on my way up. I drove, and it was Trevor Noah and his co-host and comedian friend Eugene, and I cannot remember his last name. And then they were talking with Brene Brown. Now, those of you who know me know that I absolutely adore Brene Brown and think that she is a very intelligent and funny and down-to-earth human. She's a research sociologist, so yeah, does a lot of research on shame and vulnerability. She also does work working with corporate executives and team management and all the things to help people in their organization to be effective and successful. We may be joined by one of their cats. So in having this conversation, listening to them talking about just different things, right? There was no one theme. There were several, and they were kind of, all over the place as discussions happen. One of the things that Eugene had said was that he strives for consistency, but recognizes that that's difficult to maintain. And so he tries to do everything with love. And I found that really curious. Like I paused it, I listened to it a couple different times, and I thought about this idea because I often say that change happens over time with consistency. And it's important to work on, diligently work on the things that we want to accomplish consistently. But to his point, I found it very interesting to think about the ways that life changes and different things happen. And so it makes it really difficult sometimes to be consistent. As you know, right now I'm in the midst of a team member for my little family, and having a newborn, we strive for consistency and routine. And I remember when I was in Greece and I was trying to figure out how to create a routine and consistency without having the structure of work or a job or my calendar that has always been so regimented and full that I have to, it helps me to keep things structured and organized. But without that, it's really difficult. And again, with a newborn, it's difficult because they're just learning the planet, right? And these parents are just learning how to interact with and take care of a tiny human who's never been here before, and they've never done it before. They've never done parenting. They've never done half the things that they do on a regular basis. So it's really difficult to create consistency. It's really difficult to, as much as we try to create a routine, a lot of times that'll be dysregulated by whatever the expectation is of the moment. And a good example is on Monday. It was my Yerno's birthday, my son-in-law. And, he went and did a bunch of things with his friends. And, my daughter and I supported. And then, so we went to breakfast. No, they went to breakfast. I had work. They went to play pick up basketball. Took the baby with them, which was great. This baby is like 6 weeks old tomorrow. Went to pick up basketball, had some coffee, came back, fed, changed, kind of let the little one rest. Hung out with my daughter, and then we got ready, made food, went to my son-in-law's um cornhole tournament. And again, took the baby. It's great how they integrate this little one into their life, which again, right now is not routined. It's very much like move in with intention in the way that things are day to day, right? And it's been really helpful for me to also recognize that though I am working, though I do have a schedule with clients and all the things, on my downtime or when I don't have, that regimented thing, I can be inconsistent in doing certain things, right? What we also know to be true is as an A-type Pisces, who is often ruled by emotion, I do strive to stick to a routine. I strive for consistency when it comes to my nighttime routine, when it comes to my daily routine. And when I'm traveling, it's a little bit more challenging to maintain that consistency. What I'm also finding is that, and I have, successfully been aware that in my flexibility, in being open to doing things in a different way or not having any expectations, there is more of a fluidity and more grace for myself, right? And so I think about that piece, though change does happen over time when chosen with consistency and behavior modifications. It's also helpful to integrate, grace and kindness and patience with yourself. And I speak about self-talk often because when I work with clients, a lot of times their anxiety or the asshole in their head has chosen, a way of a messaging that is based on fears or old beliefs or unhelpful, you know, previous influences. And so it's really difficult to turn the volume down on that. Though that is the best way to implement change is to recognize what the messaging is, because that has been consistent for most of our lives. Whatever that negative voice in your head is that's based on those old beliefs, there is consistency there, right? Every time you mess up, I'm so stupid, or people are going to think I'm dumb, or I never finish anything, or I'm really bad with time, whatever those beliefs are, there has been consistency in how we give ourselves those negative messages. And when we start to implement change, right, we go to therapy, we learn some things, we recognize where those messages come from, then we can make the changes to be able to address those behaviors and certainly the self-talk that keeps us stuck and limited in our ability to see past our own self-sabotaging or how we get in our own way. So when Eugene said that, it really made me think, okay, so what he said was, I won't always be able to be consistent. Depends on the situation, right? Best of intentions, trying to do the things, but also recognizing that I'm doing these things from a place of love, which I found interesting, right? Is that, and I have had a conversation with a couple of friends and talked about the difference between our decisions from love and our decisions from fear. And I've talked about it on the podcast too, but really when we think about, I'm coming from the place of appreciation and really trying to show up in a place of acceptance, right? Of understanding where the other person is coming from and also understanding and accepting where I'm coming from. Then I know that that's all I can do, right? It's not, I can certainly try to do more, but I will get tired, I will get resentful, I will get irritable. And so if I come from a place of love, understanding I don't I can't know all the things, right? I'm not an omnipresent, omnipotent person. I am just a human, and I am going into most things with an open heart, trying. Uh, and I'm also not making any assumptions. Thank you, Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm not making any assumptions, and I'm not taking things personally. That is from a place of love. I'm coming to decisions going, okay, if I recognize that I have the best of intentions for myself first, and then I'm showing up, it's really more of a practice to recognize I'm not attached to the outcome. I am hoping for the best and I'm going to do what I can to get us there. Then I can be successful, right? But if I come from a place of fear, if I come from a place of worry, it's going to create more friction. It's on a different energetic level. And then I can come, with a little bit of irritability. I can come with a little bit of resentment. I can come with a little bit of anger or frustration because my fear blocks me from being able to be fully effective in whatever I'm choosing to do, right? If I'm afraid from a financial place or from a, time place or from a resource place, whatever that is, then I will make decisions based on that fear. And I will likely, create resentment or frustration or anger, or irritability on the other part. I was thinking about, when we were in Mexico, considering, sorry, the cat was doing some things. We were in Mexico, we were in a different country, right? And there were a lot of people in the United States who were very concerned with our ability to cross the borders, right? We're documented all the things, and still there were concerns, right? And so there were people worried on a regular basis, and with good reason, right? But we didn't have that same worry. Our concerns were more day to day and less, will we be able to do this thing? All of us have traveled quite often, with the exception of the tiny human, the new one. But we've been able to cross borders and it hasn't been a problem. But there were other people who were like, who haven't done those things. Let's start there, right? If you don't have an experience of doing something, it's really easy to come from a place of fear. I don't know what that will look like. Again, from that anxiety of focusing on an uncertain future, it's really easy to have fear consume you, and then you will let your mind go to all the negative what ifs, and it's really difficult to find a consistent path to move forward in. And so when you move from a place of fear, then it's a lot easier to get in your own way or to create resistance, and then you're basically manifesting or creating more problems. It's interesting, when I was leaving Albuquerque to come to Denver, I had every intention of leaving at 8 in the morning, right? Got up about 6:30. I started the last of the packing, putting things in the car, getting ready, to come out, and and very inevitably things happened, right? Forgot my phone inside. Forgot to lock the house. Forgot to I needed windshield washer fluid. I needed to make sure that the tire pressure, all those things that I could have done earlier had I not worked all day, because there was a talk that I would maybe need to leave on Friday evening. It was a really good thing that I didn't. But there were inconsistencies in my normal departure. And so I just leaned into it, recognizing, okay, I've got time. I'm going to take the time it takes to get through. I'm not going to be afraid or worried about getting there late or upsetting anybody. Like, I can't control the things that I can't control. But I was able to leave with less anxiety and less feelings of overwhelm because I gave myself the grace. And also, I was like, this is not how I normally do things. It is not consistent with my normal pattern, but it's fine. And it's fine, right? It's really interesting a lot of times, especially for overthinkers or people who are anxious, myself included. I do tend to think about all the possible outcomes and scenarios. I used to do it to a place of detriment where it would like keep me up at night or get in my way in terms of not, it would rob me of my peace or my pleasure, and I would get overwhelmed, right? I don't do that anymore all the time. Occasionally when I travel, even, in the airplane and all the things, I do get overwhelmed and I do get frustrated and irritable. But I work through it, right? So even though there is consistency in my anxiety when I do certain things, I have been working on controlling what I can, just like I teach my clients, checking my facts, and leaning into the grace and possibility of all the things that could go well rather than just focusing on what could go wrong, right? Figuring out that, okay, I know what I'm doing for the most part. And even if I'm new, I know how to be new. Like there's a comfort in recognizing I don't have to know how to do all the things. I just need to know how to get through this part, right? And you just need to know how to create the next step to be able to move onto where I need to be, right? And there has been a level of peace that comes from acknowledging, okay, this is different and I can be new. I don't have to know all the answers right now. And I can rely on the skills and tools that I have had in the past. So even though there is an inconsistency in whatever's happening in the moment, I do have skills and resources of past experiences that may not be the same, but might be similar. And again, back to like, I can be new, right? I'm coming from a place of love in terms of wanting to get these things done for myself or for other people. And I can work through that. Funny story. I'm currently sitting on a yoga ball at the desk in the nursery, and they had just put it back together from before when they left. uh Ball wasn't filled up all the way, and so there's a frame for the ball to sit in, and then there's a back on that plastic frame, and so the ball wasn't filled consistently correct or all the way full. So I'm having a session and I can feel the ball like moving, right? So it's not full on the way, so it's moving through the frame of the chair. And rather than, get like super frustrated or irritated about it, I was aware of it. I'm still having a session with a client and I'm moving lower and lower down. It was really funny. And so I just like adjusted the camera and kept it pushing, showing up for that client with consistency, which again, again, if you have a skill set that you rely on consistently, right? On a regular basis, this skill set has helped you get through things, then you know that you're going to be able to get through whatever novel and new situation, even if it's inconsistent to your routine, right? And I would talk about like the driving, the route you take to work or wherever you go on a regular basis, if the road is somehow changed, if there's some kind of detour, accident, whatever, you do have to pivot and adjust. And when you can do that, and it doesn't dysregulate you, you don't have a panic attack, then what you know to be true is I can adjust. I can make, minor or significant adjustments to my routine, and I'm coming from a place of grace and love for myself. If the goal is to show up for you, going to the gym, for example, going to work because you got to pay your bills, going to whatever faith-based service that you want to participate in, right? You're coming from a place of love. And if it irritates you, if it's problematic, if it creates anxiety, frustration, depression, feeling overwhelmed, feeling resentful, all of those things are things to pay attention to so that if that is happening, how do you change it? Right? That's going to, you don't want to be consistently irritated. You don't want to be consistently anxious. You don't want to be consistently sad. That's not good for your nervous system and it's not good for you as a human. So you're going to have to change it. You're going to have to make a different choice and identify where you can make those adjustments, because sometimes we can't just like change our job or change our relationship or move to a different place. Like that's not helpful, and it's also not something that's feasible on the fly. some people do it, and I admire their ability to pivot that way. And it's helpful to recognize, okay, in this consistent discomfort, how do I create a plan or even just check a few boxes to create a difference, right? To disrupt that consistency and to figure out how to change it, how to make it better. It might get worse first, right? There's that tower moment in the tarot where everything falls apart and that's overwhelming. And then you get to that next place, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm not sure what fresh hell this is, but how do I work with it? How do I work within this change or this inconsistency to be able to show up for myself and just make it through, right? It's interesting to me. And I reflected on it for pretty much, it's a 3-hour podcast. I'll post it on my Instagram stories. It's so good. But it was really helpful to think about that idea. Though I do believe that change happens with consistent effort, right? There can be inconsistencies because life changes, because nothing is one way forever. Coming back to Denver, one, not my favorite place on the planet, although I've been to lots of places on the planet, so that makes sense. Uh, but I've been coming here since I was a child, and my mom's family, my mom grew up in Denver, and so her family, the side of her family lived here. So we'd come here for holidays, for summers. I'd spend time with my grandmother when I was a child. I came here for college. I went to Regis University for a year and then they asked me not to return. I came here while I was pregnant with my daughter. I have lived here a lot at all different places in the city. And yet, every time I come back, it's a little bit different. And I find new places or new interesting things that make it tolerable, if not, beneficial or helpful. Now, with these additional family members, I am finding grace and peace in that inconsistency, those new parts, right? Um, Even with the hard things that have happened, reconnected with someone over the weekend and I hadn't seen them in years, certainly not in the same room in over at least a decade. And I came in with a place of grace for myself and also curiosity, even though I've known this person for the majority of their life and mine. I have held on to resentments and anger and all the things, and more recently have come from a place of love, coming from a place of curiosity and trying to be gracious and hold space for the person that they are and not the things that have happened before now. And that was really helpful to be in this situation because we were able to just be human in it with grace and kindness and love. And so I am learning that there is not always consistency. It doesn't have to happen the same way all the time, as long as you're coming from a place of love. So thank you, Eugene, for pointing that out. It was super helpful. I am going to be here for a few more days and then I'll be back at home in Albuquerque. I am seeing new clients. I have a few spaces in my calendar. And so if you need to get a hold of me, it's lx2.cod.coach@gmail.com. You can reach me at Instagram, LX2 codependency coaching or Luna underscore X2 underscore LLC, or LX2 codependency coaching. There is your nugget. Thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed and continues to listen. Always so impressed. Hong Kong showed up recently. Georgia, thank you to everyone in the state of Georgia. In the country of Georgia, too. I think I've had some listens there. But if you get something of value from this, I appreciate it. And if you want to share and do all the things, you're more than welcome to. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.